Hello,
Hello.
everybody. It's me. It's the average Fred and the lovely Lottie.
It's me.
It's you. Back from our extravaganza of writing and ranking all our shitty action
You didn't write
movies.
any of those films.
I didn't write any of those films.
No.
I wish I'd kind of written the John Wick films, though. I'd be raking it in right now.
I'd be impressed if you wrote those.
I would be impressed with me writing those as well.
I would expect you to introduce me to Willem Dafoe if you wrote those films.
Yeah, your man love of Willem Dafoe.
Man love.
I just said just regular love, isn't it? I don't know why I said man love. I don't know what's going on. Right, but we said that we would come back and do regular, in air quotes, reviews of stuff that we're watching in this shitty film list. Shitty action film list that
Not
we've got.
all of them are terrible.
Not all of them are terrible, but I think at least one of the ones we're talking about this week is terrible.
Yeah, actually all of them are.
Really? You think all of them are? We're talking about the Transporter films, in case anyone doesn't know.
Yes, Transporter 1, 2 and 3, starring
Jason Statham.
and...
No one else of importance.
Okay, then.
No one else of great importance. I mean, I didn't make a note of the cast list.
Well, there was the French guy in all three films.
Yes, the French detective
I
in
thought
all
they
three...
were a duo, but actually he doesn't do a lot.
He's a very poor French detective. So basically our idea for this is we have 3 films. We'll basically spend about 20 minutes on each film,
Yes.
I guess. I've made notes. Lottie hasn't.
I'm a bit nervous I haven't made notes.
But it's fine. We remember enough about each of these films.
I'm hoping I can work off of your notes as well.
That's fine. So for Jason Statham's first leading role,
He's very good in all of them.
Yeah.
I have to admit, he is the best part of these films.
He has a dry sense of humour that really carries. He's just got a very dry delivery that does deliver.
He is a good actor.
So the first Transporter film, I don't actually know when it was released. I forgot to write
2002.
that bit down. That's good, 2002. It's got an IMDb rating of 6.5 out of 10.
I think that should be a little higher.
It's got a Metacritic rating of 51 out of 10.
51
out of 100.
I was going to say, they really liked it.
They really liked it. So yes, this is Jason Statham's first actual leading role. Now, he was in films before, and he is in a film that we haven't watched yet called The One, which is a Jet Li martial arts film.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's good. It's not good, but it's good.
I mean,
I remember liking it a lot as a kid. I remember watching that in my teenage years. So what is the Transporter film, Lottie? What is the first film?
Well, it starts off with a lie.
A lie?
Yeah, because it starts off with a premise that it immediately drops, which is that he's in his car, he stops at a bank, he picks up some guys, and they have a little bit of discussion about weight, which I thought was quite rude. And then he drives them away from this bank heist to safety. And I thought, oh, okay, it's going to be a bit like a bank heist film.
Well, he says he has rules. He says he doesn't do any names. He has he needs to know the weight and dimensions of packages that he's carrying and transporting around.
So I think you said there are only 3 guys, but there's 4. They had an argument. I think one of the unlucky guys got shot in the head and kicked out. Yeah,
didn't just get kicked out of the taxi. He got killed and kicked out of the taxi. Which for just basic bank robbery is kind of shit.
I think that if you could still see his face, they might be able to connect it to the other bank robbers, so it wasn't the best.
Yeah. But then... Yeah, but they'll be able to see his face anyway. It'll just have a bullet hole in it. The rest of the face won't be. Anyway. Moving on. So yes, Jason Statham is Frank Martin, who is a character with 2 first names.
I forgot his name.
I love the characters with 2 first names. I really do. They're amazing. But he has this set of rules that he follows where he transports packages back and forth.
And people.
And unfortunately, in the plot of this movie, a person who...
the beginning was people as well, but they, they consented to be transported.
Yes, the main plot of this film is stopping human trafficking, kind of.
After stopping human trafficking after he got burnt.
By the human traffickers.
Yes. He was quite happy
Yeah.
to do the human trafficking until his car blew up.
Yes, but then again, the bad guys did go and blow up his car for seemingly no reason. They didn't have to do it because he didn't ask any questions about it.
They suspected.
Yeah, but they also put the bomb in his car before they confirmed that he'd opened the package.
I think we're skipping ahead a bit.
We're not kind of skipping ahead.
So he was hired to do this package, and it came in a little sort of like a gym bag.
Yes.
He needed to take it somewhere. He stopped to get a drink. He opened the boot, saw the package wiggling.
Wiggles.
Thank you.
It was wiggling, yes. And then, open it up, and it is a small Chinese lady.
Who he feels a bit sorry for, so he gets her a drink.
Yeah. But in order to do that, of course, he opens the package technically. So
Which
he has to...
breaking his own rules.
Yeah, breaking
he does
his
not
own...
open packages.
Exactly.
There's a little bit of a weird scene. Like, he lets her ride up front, and then she has to pee. She tries to run away. He catches her quite quickly, but then whilst hauling her back tied up, run into two policemen.
He runs into two policemen who he stuffs in the trunk.
Who he beats up.
Yes.
And stuffs in the trunk with the girl again. So
they
weren't small policemen. That is a very big boot.
I think you're hanging up on a lot of these facts as well. Like,
yes.
Yeah. But,
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could fit 3 people in the boot of an Audi.
Essentially, he has opened the package. The human traffickers do not like this, and they try and kill him. So therefore, he takes a personal vendetta.
They also accidentally kill those 2 policemen who very much alive in its trunk.
They blow up the. Yeah, but that doesn't really spur Jason on anymore.
No, but it does bring in the inspector, I guess, their deaths.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
So, does he go straight back to the human traffickers?
Kicks down their door and has a fight, yes.
In which case, the girl in the package takes this opportunity to escape.
With Jason, yes.
She hides in a car. Jason then steals that car.
Coincidentally, yes.
Then he sees her.
Leaves her on the road, has a turn of conscience, and comes back and picks her up
and takes her home.
And therefore starts this whole sort of like bigger plot than he's prepared for, where he is now targeted by a gang of human traffickers / kind of small military, really, with the amount of weapons they have. To basically, they try and get the girl back / kill Frank, and fail at every opportunity.
Yes. And Frank and this new girl, they come to an understanding. She's like, "It's all right if I stay here and have some noodles." And he's like, "Yeah, why? I don't care."
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care who you are.
The inspector comes to be like, "Hey, your car was found with 2 dead cops in them." And he was like, "Yeah, it was stolen. I forgot to report it. I was too busy having a fun time with my new cook / girlfriend." And then there's this little ruse.
So I wanted to bring this up, actually. We throughout all these films, we noted that Frank does not seem to like the company of women or other human beings in general. He's a very solitary individual.
The only person that he's really close with is the inspector, but it's more sort of a friendly relationship, platonic.
Yeah. So throughout this whole thing, there is a budding romance, kind of, between the lead actress Shu Kui.
You feel it more on her side.
Yeah.
It feels a bit one-sided.
It's a little bit Stockholmy without really being Stockholmy, because he hasn't kidnapped her. It's obviously the human traffickers, but like,
she sticks around, but I've got a feeling it's more to do with tricking him into helping her.
Yes, because
rather than because she's Stockholm.
The ultimate goal of it is basically the human traffickers have like 2 big shipping containers of Chinese people coming into the country, and Frank is kind of roped in to save them. Yes. Is the ultimate plot of the movie.
He doesn't really want to, and then he decides he will. Mainly because he knows that they won't stop coming after him.
He does kind of just leave her in the middle of Paris at one point, or Nice at one point, and then is just like, no, I'm not going to help you. And then just kind of pops up again. And is just like, oh, okay, maybe I fucking will.
I think...
but...
he kind of gets roped into saving people. I don't think his heart was in it, but then that's a
common plot point throughout shitty action movies.
Or
just in shitty action movies in general.
He gets forced into these situations, but he doesn't really
want
to be there.
Whilst making my little notes on the train over here, I found a little bit of trivia on IMDb that said that the original concept pitch of this movie envisioned Frank as gay.
Interesting.
This is on the IMDb trivia section, so quite how true it is, I don't know. And it's a weird one because it says in this trivia point that the love scene, or the sex scene essentially, between Jason Statham and Shu Kui,
which you don't even really see,
is literally just written into the film to draw attention away from that aspect of the plot.
To be honest, if that love scene wasn't in there, I wouldn't assume he was gay. He just doesn't really seem interested in anyone. Yeah,
it is also one of those points we mentioned about the Hitman films. In the Hitman films, there isn't any love scene, and it's one of those very few action films where we've seen no indication of a love connection between the protagonist and anyone.
Blade was probably the same, but I thought that was one of its stronger points.
Yes, and I can never remember the actress or the character's name from the first Blade.
Is it Karen? I
might have actually been a Karen, to be honest. But and we said in the little recap we did of all those films we watched that it's a crime they didn't bring her back for the sequels.
Oh, she was so good.
Yeah.
But anyway, not talk about Blade.
No. So, what are your general impressions on the first film?
I was very uncomfortable with the fact that he knew there was a woman in there but decided to deliver her anyway. That bit was like, oh,
yeah,
you're
it's
not really
also
a hero I can root for.
Now that I think about it, it's not as if he's done that before as well. Because yes, he's travelled all around. He's transported tons of different packages, and he has to have known that some of those packages are not good. He's
None
probably
of them
delivered
were human beings.
Yeah, but you get the feeling that because this woman woke up and started banging on the boot and trying to make a noise, that he hasn't actually transported a human before.
Yes.
Not one that's not willingly got in the vehicle anyway, like the bank robbers at the start of the film.
Yeah, exactly. They consented to go into that car.
Yes, whether Shu Kui did not.
So I guess that was kidnapping. I'm debating whether that was kidnapping or human trafficking. Because he got money for it, but then so would a kidnapper.
So did the human traffickers. They would probably get money for...
I feel like as they were professional human traffickers, that probably does count as human trafficking, what he did.
The whole film kind of culminates in this fight scene on and around a truck, which is carrying the human traffickers. There are two trucks, 2 containers full of about 200 people each. They say, and they let one of the trucks get away.
They only stopped one of the trucks.
Yeah, it confused us a lot when we watched it, because they make this whole big deal of killing the bad guy, throwing out the truck. He gets crushed by another vehicle or something. He gets run over.
Yeah, he's dead.
He's definitely dead. And Jason Statham then drives this container off the road, or off a side ramp, and then just parks it on a beach somewhere, and they all get out the truck with the police.
Yeah.
They never show or mention the other trailer again.
No, it's not even mentioned. I assume that they call the police, and it gets...
You would assume...
Gets pulled over because all the bad guys are dead.
Yeah, but at the point of the film,
all right.
But at that point of the film, it's just Jason Statham going after these guys. It's not the police and Jason.
No.
That whole final fight is just Jason Statham. And it's weird because, like, you just see... I think it's a big wide shot, and you see Jason drive off the side ramp, and the other trailer is just going into the distance. And you're like, no, that's 200 Chinese people in that tanker there.
Which brings me back to, I don't think he cared too much about them.
Yes, but then neither did Shu Kui, because she doesn't ask about it either.
No.
She doesn't go like, where are the others? The inspector doesn't make a offhand comment about like, oh, we caught the other trailer.
It's like the plot forgot about it.
Because then the film just ends as they're getting out the container. And you're just like, wait,
also, I
what?
feel like there weren't 200 people in that container.
Yeah, half of it's empty.
Half of it's empty.
If you got 200
and then you
people...
see about 5 people in it before it cuts.
If you got 200 people in a shipping container, I know a shipping container is quite big, but 200 people is also quite a sizable amount of people.
Unless they were all pushed at the back, but that wouldn't be very comfortable.
No, especially when you got the whole container to move around in.
I would want to be sitting down and stretching out.
Yeah, as much as you can in that sort of space. Anyway, I think we're getting distracted with it again.
Yes,
but at the same point,
there was
high point of the film.
The high point of the film is also a very strange part.
What's that for you?
That was for when they were having. It was a great fight scene, and then suddenly, Jason Statham hits this oil can. There's oil everywhere.
Yes.
But it's really disgusting looking oil.
Yeah, it's meant to be like motor oil or something, isn't it?
Gross.
Yeah.
He gets completely covered. All of them get completely covered. They're having this big oil fight.
Yeah.
He's sliding around.
People are trying to grab him, but they slip off of him because he's covered in motor oil.
No one can stand up. They're falling over.
Which apparently was molasses syrup in real life.
It looked like it.
And Jason Statham apparently just went, it was a real sticky situation. Which, like, obviously...
Which isn't slippery.
Obviously, you can, like, make it... You can probably, like, add sounds in post to make it sound slippery. But you've got to imagine how much of that was just, like, you know, the people going... Get your hand off me!
Even that, if that was real motor oil, I bet you that would have been an awful situation to be in anyway.
Yeah.
It just came out of nowhere and it really made me laugh, but also made me go, ugh.
Yes.
Was this supposed to be there for another reason? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that. I remember these films I remember watching like years and years ago, like when they came out, and I remember the oil fight because it's just so fucking stupid and really funny. And I was curious to see what your reaction would be when watching it, and I do remember you just kind of... You were laughing throughout the first half of the fight because it all takes place like in and around a bus that's in this garage as well.
Yes.
They fight in the bus, then they head out the bus and have like this whole fist fight. And then the oil happens and you just went, what? Oh, no!
I was worried about where it was going until I saw that the oil was not kind of baby oil, and then I felt a bit more comfortable that this wasn't heading in the direction that I thought it was.
It wasn't just a random all-man orgy in the middle of this fight scene.
I don't know. I hadn't seen it before. I didn't want to watch it if it was that.
Why on our films of shitty action? Like literally, we've curated this list, and our premise for it is just shitty action films with good ones sprinkled in, like, and occasionally, because we sprinkled in stuff like Looper and the John Wick series and stuff like that.
And Blade.
Why would I... And Blade. Oh, I can't forget the Blade trilogy. But why would I just slip in a film where there is just a random male orgy in there?
Well, I didn't think it was going to be an orgy. I thought they were just going to start objectifying all those men.
I mean... Frank, in every single one of these films, does remove his shirt several times.
Yes.
And let's be fair, Jason Statham is a good-looking dude who is ripped as hell.
You enjoyed that more than me.
He's a ripped dude. What else? What do you mean? Like,
he just really liked it when he took his shirt off.
Oh. A good-looking guy is a good-looking guy. I mean, I'm not
he is good looking
in that way inclined, but at the same time, like, Jason Statham shirtless is a good-looking guy. Same with like someone like Henry fucking Cavill. Like, no one's going to object to seeing Henry Cavill with their shirt off. Are you?
Depends what shirt, to be fair. it's a nice shirt, then I'd rather him keep it on.
Anyway, I'm just imagining.
And Jason Statham has some very nice shirts.
He is always dressed in a
wear
suit.
any linen.
No. Who is it in that film that does? Oh, no, it's in...
John Cusack.
It's in the second film where someone wears linen, isn't it? Anyway, what would you, given our tier list rankings, because we have to put it on there somewhere, where would you put Transporter 1? Think of the oil fight.
I'd say because of the human trafficking that I didn't like, and the fact that he wasn't okay with it after they blew up his car, it's a C.
It's a C. I thought you were going with a C. I'm going to put it at a B. It's just a fun, like, yes, of course, it's a problematic thing with the human trafficking, but then all of the films we've seen have had like problematic, weird elements like that. Not like the human trafficking stuff, but they've all had aspects where you're just like,
oh no,
that's not good.
Yeah,
that's not right. Yeah, but one of my notes on this is just like they let a whole truck of people get away.
they did. I mean, because they killed all the bad guys, all I can hope is that that truck did get pulled over by the police and they were set for free.
Yes.
That's the best conclusion we can get from that.
Right. So we move into the second Transporter film. Transporter 2, yeah, surprisingly. Which, weirdly enough, is the highest ranked Metacritic film of the series with 56 out of 100.
I can understand why. It's definitely got a bigger budget.
Yeah.
It does everything the first one did, but bigger.
IMDb give it a 6.3 out of 10.
It was also set in America.
Yes. So the action has moved from Nice in France to America. We think like Miami-ish.
It was an American city.
Yes, they never really specifically say where it is, but it feels Floridian.
I think it was Miami in the end. But they did refer to it as an American city.
Yeah, and the whole idea is that Frank is now looking after this family. He's kind of a stand-in driver for this rich family and their son.
He's just a chauffeur, I think, is the way they describe it. But
there's no real... I think he just does it as a favour to the guy he's replacing. He doesn't seem to be like, I'm only doing it for a month and then I'm going. And in the meantime, sort of like as he's doing this, a bunch of...
He's mainly a chauffeur for a small boy.
Yes.
And they sort of build up a rapport.
Yeah. And for some reason that you're not really told, of course, right at the start, terrorists, I guess is the best way to describe them, just kind of kidnap the boy.
They kidnap him in a very confusing way. Well,
yes.
I don't think it was supposed to be a kidnapping at first.
No, it wasn't.
I think they just wanted to poison the boy.
Yeah,
so they took over a doctor's surgery where he's supposed to get
immunizations or something,
yes.
Isn't he? Yeah.
And instead of immunising him, they were going to poison him with some sort of... I think they said it was a virus.
Yes. The overarching idea of these terrorists is to poison the boy, and it's like an airborne virus after about a few hours. And the boy's dad is going to a conference full of important world leaders or something, and he'll just but because the dad will then be infected, he will infect everyone in the room. Think of it like a zombie, like the zombie plague. Like, it's very contagious very quickly, or maybe even like The Last of Us, sort of like.
Except it doesn't make you a zombie, it just makes you dead.
It just makes you dead. Yes.
It's oh gosh, this sounds terrible. It starts with a cough.
Yeah. Well,
it's a very... I think it would be very different watch if I'd watched it before 2020.
Yeah. I mean, I still got the same sort of like, well, this is stupid. Like,
yeah.
But I can see like it takes on a slightly different turn after COVID, but at the same time, like...
I think we have to put the virus to the side for now. There is an antidote for this virus.
There is an antidote for the virus.
For the virus.
But at the same time, the bad guy, who is not really the real bad guy, he says he's just being paid by people to do this.
I think he's just bored.
Yeah,
you get that impression from him.
Yeah, Bored of wearing his linen suits as well.
Yeah, he takes them off more than he wears them.
It's very stupid. It's
The boys.
well, this is the thing. Like, it's a slightly forgettable entry simply because they seem to be like, all right, we like the character of Frank Martin and this whole transporter business that he's got, but essentially they have just made a random Jason Statham film and they've called it The Transporter 2, because aside from him playing the same character, literally nothing about the film.
He stops driving for quite a bit.
Yeah, literally nothing about the film is really related to the first film. Like, you've got the detective that comes into it, but there's nothing.
The detective comes to visit at the same time that he was supposed to pick him up for the airport, but he couldn't because he was taking the boy to the doctor's. So he has to get a taxi to his house. So the inspector's on the way to the house. They're on the way to the hospital. Of course, the hospital's full of bad guys wanting to poison him. Jason, Frank, he cottons on.
And they have a good fight.
There's a very big fight, which has a very odd moment where they've escaped from the killer lady. They press the button for the lift, the elevator, and
I forgot about this.
You follow, the camera follows the sound of the ding of the elevator all the way to the lady, who's like 2 rooms over, and she looks and she's like, I know where they are now. Yeah,
well, she's not even 2 rooms over. She's literally over the other end of the building, it seems like, because it follows those sound waves for a long time. It's got to be, what, like a 10-20 second shot?
I don't know why that was there. It just made her sound like she had super hearing.
But
she's supposed to be a robot?
No, she's just meant to be a psychotic woman. Like,
They escape, and they're in the car, and they get to Frank's car and they drive off. But little did they know that they planted a bomb in the car.
Well, no, yeah. They kind of plant the bomb in the car.
They don't explode it or anything.
They don't explode it until they've actually got the boy.
So he drives all the way back to the parents' house, where the mum is trying to make a little
surprise birthday party, yes.
But as soon as they get in the gates, he gets a phone call, I think, or something.
Yeah, because they've got bad guys watching the house, so they can be like, oh, we'll just kill you if you don't do what you say.
We're just going to kill this kid unless you deliver him to us.
Which, again, counterintuitive to what they actually want to do.
And at this point, Jason Statham has said to this boy, I will not let anyone hurt you. Like 4 or 5 times. As he's rescuing him, and he's like, you're going to be all right. Yeah,
you're going to be all right, you're going to be fine, I'm not going to let anyone hurt you or do anything bad to you, and then he literally lets the kid get kidnapped and injected with a lethal virus.
He basically, he drives the kid to the kidnappers.
Well, yeah, because it's...
The bad lady gets in the car, they drive off, he hands them over, and then, he gets almost assaulted by this lady who starts licking him.
Yes, so
it's really uncomfortable.
The main sort of like antagonistic selling point of the film is this scantily clad
Terminator.
Psychotic woman with big machine guns, twin machine guns, and more so than the actual bad guy, she is the main like antagonistic force of the film, because she is just like relentlessly gunning everything down, not just Jason. But
she attacks some cops.
Yeah,
she's just for attacking everything.
Yeah, she doesn't even get like any repercussions for it as well, because like literally, she gets out of the doctor's office, she guns down at least like 2 or 3 cops, and then seemingly is able to get out of there without any questions.
I think she steals the police car as well and drives after them.
Oh yeah, she does, because that's how she gets into Jason's car.
Mm.
Yeah, the bomb thing though, oh my god!
So he's delivered the boy.
The stupidest bit of this film is
looking at him like he's just.
You've betrayed me.
Which he has. The kid gets picked up by this giant man, taken away on a boat. The lady stays around, licks him a bit, then lets him go.
Everyone likes to lick Jason Statham, and I don't get why. They just don't like.
Maybe it's his perfume.
You can just smell that, but that's still weird.
It's vanilla or something. I think he's a cake.
But, so yeah, in order to get the stupidest bit of this film, and it's a pretty stupid film, including a jet ski ride, several... What is even the final fight? It's like... There isn't really...
There are a fight on a plane.
I forgot about the fight on the plane.
Fight.
But the stupidest bit of the film, aside from the whole plane thing, is the bit where he finds out that there's a bomb on his car, and in order to get it off his car, he barrel rolls it so that a crane scrapes the underside of his car and hitches the bomb off of it.
I don't understand why he just didn't remove it with his
Yeah,
hands.
because they wanted to blow it up like immediately. But they say like, oh, give him a little bit just to get away. We don't want to be caught up in the blast radius, which is sensible. But they give him like 30 seconds, in which case he could have just been like, meh, like rip it off the underside of the car. But no, he decides to do a convoluted barrel roll.
It hasn't aged very well, that barrel roll.
No, the CG, there's not a lot of CG in the Transporter films, but the CG when they do use it is dreadful. It is beyond
it was
dreadful.
2004, I think this one is.
I don't
can
think
forgive it a bit.
No, I don't think you can, because
No?
like there are examples of CG in... I mean, think about it in terms of stuff like the example I always use is that if you take your time with the CG and like perfectly, if you're giving enough time to craft it, you can make anything look really good. Jurassic Park came out in 1993.
That didn't have a barrel roll explosion off a crane.
But it still had a gigantic fucking T-Rex stomping out of a paddock, flipping a Jeep. I mean, some of that is practical effects as well.
I don't think we can compare Transporter 2 to Jurassic Park.
But in terms of how CG quality can vary, because like, you're making a extinct animal look more realistic than a car doing a barrel roll, which stunt crews have done in real life. James Bond, one of the James Bond films. I can't remember which one it is.
I remember that one.
Yeah, but there is one where they literally do a barrel roll over a bridge.
Yes.
And it's all done practically.
Yes, it was. It still looks ridiculous.
Oh, it still looks ridiculous.
Maybe that's why.
But they don't do it practically in Transporter. They CG the fuck out of it.
It's not a great effect. But, it gives you a nice explosion.
Isn't that all we want?
But because he has delivered this kid, he is now wanted for the police for kidnapping. And because the inspector has now arrived at his place and has started cooking up a storm.
Literally. He cooks a creme brulee with science equipment halfway through the film.
He's made some mandolins, he's put it in the oven, and then in come the US Marshals to arrest anyone who's in Frank's house.
Yes.
So he gets taken away. No one turns off the oven. I only assume they're still there.
What, to this day, 17 years from now?
I mean, this house probably just burned down.
Yeah,
to be
true.
Fair.
But yeah, no, this film, I don't know how to feel about, because like, it's a fairly serviceable action film. Shitty CG, fine.
Plot was pretty unfollowable.
Plot is wafer thin.
Yeah.
Because they never really
cure the virus.
Yeah, so the whole twist in the virus is that they have this antidote and the bad guy injects himself with the entirety of the antidote so that he is now the cure. So they have to distill his blood or something to get the cure, which I'm pretty sure is just iffy science on the film's part.
Because they gave the antidote to the boy earlier. They had a little vial and they gave it to him to cure him.
Yeah.
So why can't they just use the boy's blood? Again,
Probably,
it's. Yeah. I thought as soon as he
very
injected the antidote
science,
into him, that was it. It's gone.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought as well. So the whole end of the film is this ridiculous fight on a plane, which has the worst physics.
It was
known to
funny.
Man. It was very funny, but it wasn't meant to be funny.
No,
it really wasn't meant to be funny at all. And again, if we're talking about horrendous CG, that has some diabolical CG.
The plane was funny.
The plane falling out the sky.
The plane falling out the sky was funny. It was like flipping all around the place, but yet the interior, everything was completely static.
Yes.
It was odd.
Well, no, they seem to switch between. They could switch between Jason Statham and whoever the bad guy was played by, I forget. Like, they're rolling around the cabin, like, you know,
Yes.
flipping onto walls and ceilings and stuff. And then the next shot would, like, be the plane still tumbling and spinning out the sky, and Jason Statham and the other guy would stand up and have an actual fist fight, whilst the thing is still meant to be, like, rotating at, like, 500 degrees, you know?
It was, yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense.
No.
It was a good fight, though. I did enjoy it, the plane fight.
Yeah, it's, again, like, as these films go on, the editing and the fight choreography get, like, more and more sloppy.
Yes.
And until the third film, which we're about to get for, where you can't tell what's going on at all.
It made me feel a bit ill.
Yeah. However, with the incurable virus of this film, like, it just leaves more plot holes than the human trafficking. Like, there is no way you could get that virus cured.
The ending, you're not quite sure if anyone was actually saved. A bit like the first one, where you're not sure if they saved that other container. All we know is that he saved the boy, and he's probably going to save the mother.
Although, because there's a scene afterwards where he goes to visit the boy in the hospital, and his mum and dad are there, presumably having been given the antidote, and they're all well. But the idea is that this film kind of culminates in the dad going to this big conference full of many, 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 many people.
I assume they
infecting all of them.
I assume they just cured the important people and let the others rot.
Yeah, but of course the virus incubates for a while, then becomes airborne. So, again, very familiar.
I doubt they'd be able to stop it, but they could probably mass produce a shot if they needed to.
And then there would be a conspiracy theory anyway.
Yeah, so I assume that quite a lot of people probably died.
Probably, yeah.
But
there's like
no one Frank cared about, so it's all right.
Yeah, the film doesn't mention it. The film doesn't mention a death toll. The film doesn't mention if the antidote was administered.
We were very surprised that Frank didn't catch it.
Yeah, Frank doesn't actually come down with any symptoms at all.
The fact he's in the room with quite a lot of people who do have it.
Yeah, he at one point he sneaks back into the family house after they've given back the boy. Where the boy is infected, the mum's infected,
the dad's infected, and some of the FBI guys are infected as well.
And yet Jason Statham comes right up close to the boy and the mum and doesn't suffer any symptoms throughout the film. And he hasn't injected himself with the antidote at any point either. No. So, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Right.
Which is a shame, because if they had a better plot, if it could just be about the boy being kidnapped and him going after him, doing infinitely better.
Yeah, a simple kidnapping. Like
Rush Hour. It could have been like that.
Oh, Rush Hour. If the John Wick films have also told us anything, it's just that if you keep your action as simple as you can, like those
and
films,
your plot as simple as you can.
Those films don't really have that complicated a plots.
You don't need a complicated plot in an action film.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
no one's watching it for the plot.
Yeah. And yeah, there might be all sorts of different levels to the house and, you know, the adjudicator and the harbinger and all that
But I wasn't paying attention to that anyway.
And you still had a bloody good time.
Yes.
Who doesn't love that staircase sequence in John Wick 4? Exactly. So what would you give Transporter 2 as a ranking?
Oh, there was a bit more oil fighting in this one.
Yep.
Which, again, I was a bit worried about.
No, there's not really oil fighting. They literally cover his arm in oil at one point.
I think I saw it and went, oh no, not again. And sort of had flashbacks. I think it was... I think I enjoyed it more than the first one, even though it was worse.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I'd still only give it a C.
Fair enough. Again, for some just like abysmal sequences that like rip you out of it entirely, I think I'm going to put it as a C as well. And then we get to our favourite.
Oh my gosh.
It's the third film in the series, so I've got a few things to say about this, and I'm sure you do too, but the IMDb score for Transporter 3 is a 6 out of 10, so it's technically the lowest rated in their IMDb. And then the Metacritic, weirdly enough, sits the same score as Transporter 1 with a 51 out of 100, which I don't understand at all.
It was very similar to the first film. They go back to
Slightly human trafficking.
They go back there, and not only that, they go back to France. Although
Yeah.
confusingly, when I read the synopsis, it said he's in Paris. So I was like, oh, he's going to be in Paris. They do not go to Paris.
And they almost immediately leave France.
Yeah.
So
he's back where he used to live.
Yeah.
Obviously, because the inspector burnt down his house.
It's weird. So the third film is another transporter gets given this woman to drive around.
Yes.
And
he transports a lady.
Freaks out. And
he basically does what Frank should have done in the first one. He figures out that this woman is not there by choice.
Yeah.
And tries to rescue her.
And the only way and the fact that he kind of runs out of options, and the only way he can think to solve it is by going to Frank and giving the girl to hurt him. He does that, however, by driving through his living room.
Which we thought, well, that's a stupid idea, and then I can kind of see why he did it.
Yes, because he's not feeling very well. He's not shot
feeling
up
very well, and you later find out that he can't leave the car.
Yes, so he's fitted with a bracelet that has some sort of chemical concoction in it. It's proximity triggered to the car, so if he gets like 75 feet from the car, it blows up.
Yes.
And
so does the girl he's been asked to transport.
The bad guy essentially wants Frank to transport the girl around to wherever he tells him to.
Yeah,
because
so after this scene with the car going through the living room.
Yeah.
The first transporter dies, and that's how you found out that he can't be moved from the car. And then Frank turns around, sees the girl in the back seat, and thinks, "Who's that?" And then someone hits him from behind. But how did they get there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Though they just apparate in the room. They just kind of poof, boom. There he goes.
They knocks him out, and then he kidnaps both him and the girl. So he's now been kidnapped too.
So he's forced to transport this girl around to wherever the bad guy wants.
He's got the bracelet on.
And in the kind of grand scheme of the film, there is a minister in Ukraine.
Her father.
Who needs to sign some sort of bill that will let some ships carrying toxic waste into port, essentially.
Basically dump their toxic waste into Ukraine.
Yeah. And essentially he has a time limit to sign a bill that will do that.
They're blackmailing him.
And they're blackmailing him and say, if you don't do this, we kill your daughter. The film falls apart immediately when you realise that why did they need to get any transporter involved at all? They could have just kept the girl in a bunker somewhere.
Yeah, because they successfully kidnap her in Ibiza.
Yes.
Then they pay the first transporter to take her somewhere. I assume it's in France because they got there no problem.
And that's the thing.
But I don't know why she needed to go to France in the first place.
Yeah, throughout the film,
it's
they're trying to track the bad guy, and they try to find like where the bad guy is and where Frank is, so they can kind of catch the girl and catch him. But if they're tracking the bad guy, fine. But the bad guy doesn't need to stay with the woman, so.
It's we're not quite sure why she's being transported.
Yeah,
at all.
It's a very.
Unless we missed a plot point. But it just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, because like the bad guy as well for this film is played by Robert Nepper, who you'll recognise from like a load of different things. He's one of those like skeevy bad guys, like Peter Stormare. He's got
one of those faces. You'll see him and you're like, it's that guy from that thing.
Yeah, the guy from the Thing. He's very cool, but he's not a very good bad guy.
Probably because you're still. Again, these bad guys don't really, apart from the first one, the first bad guy was really into what he's doing. But the other two bad guys don't really seem that into it. Well, they just seem to be going through the motions.
And they're both kind of hired by other people. I think there's a scene in number 2 and in number 3 where the bad guy basically confesses to Frank, is just like, I've just been paid to do this job. I don't care about this kid or this woman one way or the other. I've just been paid to do a job. And like, well then...
What? I don't know. I think the bad guy in 3 was linked in with the toxic waste dump because he was going to make a lot of money from it.
I don't know.
But he also confessed to being a pacifist, and then he shot someone.
Oh my god, yeah, he does. Yeah, he's a pacifist, but
that doesn't
earlier on
mind
in the
killing people.
yeah, earlier on in the film, one of his henchmen questions him, and he then just immediately domes him in the head, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't like it when people question him. Maybe he just doesn't know what a pacifist is.
Yeah, maybe he's just a bit stupid.
He's probably just stupid. Yeah. Maybe he thinks that pacifists only use their fist. And because he used a gun, it doesn't count.
I'm a pacifist.
I
But
don't
can
punch
use guns,
people.
It's fun. Oh my god, it took me
It's
a while
okay
to
to
connect
kick,
to
it's
that.
okay to shoot, but you can't use your fist.
That took me a while to connect, and I was just like, what are you talking... Oh. So, our main problem with this film it's the woman entirely. Her character is
very
terribly written.
unlikable.
Yeah.
Very unlikable. She's belligerent through the whole thing.
I've just written down she is annoying and brattish.
She was kidnapped in Ibiza, and she's had a horrible time, so I can forgive her for being a bit in shock. But at one point, she has managed to smuggle some ecstasy with her that she must have got in the club in Ibiza. And then she was like, "Hey, Frank, I'm going to take this." And he tries to stop her, and there's a whole swervy bit in the car where he's trying to stop her whilst driving. She takes both pills. I'm not quite sure what 2 ecstasy pills will do to you, but she goes a little bit crazy after this.
Yeah, and this is also... Is it also after she's had like a fifth of vodka or something as well?
No, I think that causes her to do that, so... I think they need to pull over to get some petrol, some gas.
Yeah.
And then he gives her the money and says, go pay for it. So she goes in, pays for it, starts eating some crisps, and then drinks some vodka. And then she needs the toilet at the same time, but the toilet's too far away. So
yeah.
I assume she just holds it.
No, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't hold it. She starts peeing in the shop.
Yeah, she just crouches behind a stack of shells and pees on the floor. So it's just like...
Whereas
really?
Jason's just watching. He's like, "Oh, please, no,
he's just like,
please.
Oh, for God's sake, what is wrong with this woman?"
He's like, "What did I do to deserve this?"
And then...
I had a friend called Michael. That was my mistake.
So yeah, this is the section of the film that really pissed us off a lot. Because there's the ecstasy and the vodka, where they stop at the gas... with the peeing. And then they immediately turn around and head back on their way. They get into a car chase / shoot 'em up with another car.
Yep.
And
she's still high.
Yeah, and defeat all those guys. And then immediately they pull up on a hilltop, get out the car.
She grabs the keys.
Yes, and she is just like, "We're going to die, so don't you want to have a bit of fun before we die?" And he's just like,
"No.
Absolutely fucking not.
You're
drunk and high.
Give me those keys, please."
And then she somehow... And we were talking about this a lot as it was happening, so we didn't hear the dialogue, but I think that made it slightly more bearable.
Ugh.
But she basically convinces him to do some sort of striptease.
She's got the keys, and I think he's worried that she's going to throw the keys to a point where they can't get them because they can't go away from the car.
Yeah.
So she's saying, like, "If you want these key backs, take off your shirt."
Yeah.
And so he very reluctantly takes off his shirt, and at this point I'm like, I don't like this.
It's a wholly uncomfortable scene, and if the roles were reversed it would have been dragged through the mud, quite rightly so.
Yeah, but I think it should still be dragged through the mud.
Oh yeah.
He didn't want to.
Yes.
She started to then kiss him. He was not into that at all. He was like, "Stop," and she was like, "No, if you don't let me kiss you, I'm going to throw away the keys."
And then but then it kind of does lead into like, Frank just kind of acquiesces and is just like, okay,
he starts
fine.
to reciprocate, but I was still very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a low point in like all of the films we've watched, because it's just such a weirdly like, and the series of events that we described, like it's literally the gas station scene, the car chase, and then literally the minute, and it's all in the same block. There's no indication that she's kind of come down off the ecstasy and the vodka. It's literally the second after they finish that car chase, they drive up on a hilltop, and this striptease weirdness plays out.
Yeah, she's basically high and sort of blackmails him into sleeping with him.
I mean, one thing I did and again, not about that scene, but like about the actress. The actress is someone called Natalia Rudakova. Apparently, she has no acting experience before this film.
That I could tell.
She was apparently, and this is again on the IMDb trivia page for this, so I don't know how real it is. It could just be someone just putting it out there with no research. But apparently was just a hairdresser before this. Luc Besson, the writer and director of all these three, apparently crossed paths with her in New York. Just literally, as far as this IMDb thing says, just walked past her on the street.
Okay.
Caught up with her, asked her to take some acting lessons, and then audition for the film.
She's very good looking, so I can kind of understand.
But how...
But at the same time, I think if they had a different actress in, it could have improved this film.
I just don't understand how that's your process for hiring people.
It would have been interesting if maybe they got the girl from the first film back.
She had to be tied into the plot, though, didn't she? They could have, yeah.
It could have been her causing trouble. Maybe she married the minister from Ukraine, and instead of the daughter, it's now the wife.
Oh, like a kind of Indiana Jones thing where you catch up with was it Kingdom of the Crystal Skull where you catch up with his love interest like years later?
Yes, that could be interesting because they had the thing in the past and now in this position again. Maybe it could reignite feelings rather than what happened. Or maybe they could just be friends, which I would think I would prefer.
Don't be stupid, Lottie. A man and a woman in an action film being friends?
It can happen, I swear.
Not in Hollywood, darling. Don't be ridiculous.
Maybe that I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Also, it makes a lot more sense, Frank's attitude throughout all three of these films. Oh, we didn't even mention, in the second film, he does turn down advances from the woman.
Yes, he does.
The wife of the family comes onto him at one point, and he just goes like,
He's like, no thank you.
No girl.
She was drunk at the time.
She
was. Not quite sure if that was his reason, but he doesn't really seem interested in her. He doesn't really seem interested in anyone.
Yes, even the sex scene in the first film is... Yeah,
they literally... I feel like he's going along with it.
Yeah, they escape the house explosion. They blow up Frank's house and then they kind of escape through this underwater passage, arrive in another random house, and they literally, he kind of takes his shirt off, gets out some wet clothes. She
saw him.
It's literally just this sort of thing where he's just like, right, we need to figure out what to do next. They just blew up my house. I'm a bit stressed. And he's going out trying to figure out what to do. She literally just then kind of just strips down and is just like, or we could do this. And he just goes, fuck it. And but that's the exact how it plays out in the film, isn't it?
I feel like he does things because it's easier to do them than to not.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit sad.
It's a little bit sad.
I feel a bit sorry for him. I don't think he's really that interested in having a relationship with anyone.
And I think it comes down to Jason Statham's delivery of it, where I'm sure there was a discussion at some point of just being like, right, maybe they told him he was meant to be a gay character, so he didn't seem interested in this sort of stuff, and so he could actually incorporate that into his acting as much as Statham acts. He's more muscle than acting, but
But at the same time, I'm not buying the whole he's gay thing, because he doesn't seem interested in any of the guys that he encounters either.
I mean, the closest relationship he has in the film is with
the inspector. But again, there's no tension between them.
Yeah.
They just sort of chat, and they're always about 3 meters apart.
I mean, if you can't tell from our tone, this film it's just. I mean, even if you just leave out the striptease thing, the film is just bad. The film is just a bad action film in general. It's not edited well. It's not shot well. The car chases are all sped up. Literally, the film is sped up. You can tell when you watch it.
Yeah, the fight scenes are so janky that they made me feel a bit shaky camera.
It's annoying because they use a good, like, all three films use Corey Ewan, who's like a famous martial arts choreographer, as their choreographer.
And it's
and
really
the first
good
film,
in the first one.
Yeah.
It's good in the second one. The third film, you just can't see it.
Yeah, because of the editing, it's just unintelligible. Like, you just cannot tell what's going on. Yeah.
Which is a shame, because there was a great David versus Goliath moment with this giant man versus
I forgot
David
about
Statham.
the giant man. Yes,
But it started off good as a good fight, and then again, I couldn't tell what was going on.
It's
They
a lot.
just seemed to teleport all over the place.
Jason Statham can teleport, though. Did you not know this?
I wouldn't say he couldn't. He's a very, very good actor. I would believe that he could teleport.
But he can teleport, Lottie. Like, you know.
Yeah, and I believe that because he's a very good actor.
I mean, it's just a bad film, though. It's just.
It's bad editing.
I don't even think there's anything like even the
they
finale.
Definitely miscast that lady.
Yeah, the finale is like Jason riding a train with a car and smashing it into the bit of it. Like, it's bombastic and stupid, but at the same time, it's just yawn-inducing.
It didn't keep me on my toes. The ridiculous bits didn't make me laugh as much as they might have done in other films. He's a very serious actor, and that can usually play well to have someone so playing it.
Yeah,
dead
so
on serious. That
yeah.
can work really well in comedy. But he didn't have anyone to play off in any of these films, apart from the inspector, which he played off with well, but they just weren't in enough scenes together.
Yeah, in fact, you could have probably made a very good buddy cop film.
Yeah,
of it.
Those two were probably the best characters, but again, they spent so little time with each other.
Yeah, and you didn't even have because the police inspector in the third film kind of follows on the tail of Frank throughout most of it, but doesn't do anything.
He's worried about him, and he's trying to help him out as soon as he finds out what's happening, and he does come in and save the day, the inspector, in Ukraine. He goes to Ukraine and sorts some stuff out for Frank. But
but it's all like admin work and not actually like anything.
It was better in the first film when he was
actively involved,
talking face to face.
Yeah. And again, if you played it as some sort of like Rush Hour or Lethal Weapon or something like that, where
would have worked much better.
Where it's this, like any sort of buddy cop or like just buddy movie that you think of, it could have worked a little bit. Like, even if you don't do that for the first film, because I think despite the flaws that the first film has, it's a fairly solid film and you set up a bunch of characters quite well.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the second and third film, you could use that to develop the inspector and Frank's relationship.
The first film was solid enough to build on.
Yeah.
They just didn't build on it.
Yeah, they kind of threw the whole transporter concept out the window and then just
tried to bring it back and failed.
Yeah. Apparently, and I didn't mention this at the time because I kind of forgot about it, there is a reboot called The Transporter Refueled.
Oh, should we watch it?
I mean,
it's not Jason in it.
No, they recast him as well. And
you know what? That is a kind of film that you could reboot and improve on. So I'd actually be quite interested in watching it.
Well, we could do that then. I mean, we obviously won't be able to cover it in this episode because we haven't seen
2 minutes go.
Ah!
I loved it.
Yeah, welcome back.
There was a lot less oil and a lot less sexual assault.
I mean, God, I'm going to hold you to that. Let's hope. I mean, I hope you're right.
I really hope I'm right.
Look, we look for no sexual assault in our films.
No sexual assault is the best kind of film.
And that's our takeaway from the Transporter series.
Yes.
Weirdly enough.
Don't put that in your action film. It's not worth it. I'm
going to assume I know what your tier rank is for Transporter 3, but why don't you tell me just so you could confirm it?
I mean, does F exist?
No, remember it's S, A, B, C, D.
It's D.
Yes, of course it's a D. It's a god-awful film.
It's just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's it. I could not get over that scene and it ruined the ending for me.
Made me uncomfortable, the end.
Yeah, it made me uncomfortable. I couldn't get over it. I'm still thinking about it now. No.
Well, it's because we're talking about it now, but that's beside the point. Well, thank you all for indulging us on this 1 hour tirade of Transporter films.
We've saved you watching them Although you probably don't understand the plot from what we were talking about.
Oh, no. I'm gonna... we'll just market this as two people talk about bad films badly. That's all it is.
Yeah, actually, we could be the bad action films of commentary on bad action films.
Wow, that's a name, isn't it?
Maybe don't call it that.
All right. Well, I don't know what the next film is going to be. We've got one to watch straight after this. Actually, we're going to jump in straight into
Should
another.
I make notes?
We could make notes. As we're watching it. We need pen and
find a
paper,
pen.
Lottie.
I've got pens somewhere.
Avast to the pen and paper factory.
Da-la-la-la-la.
Hey!